Hello and welcome. I am really excited to show you my next handmade bezel project. This is for a gift for somebody who requested a star-shaped keychain, and I can't find star-shaped bezels, therefore I had no choice but to make my own bezel. However, I'm having real difficulty drawing a star, so what I did was I just made a V-shape and then shaped the wire to that V-shape 5 times to create the star shape that you can see there. This is just a practice with some thin wire. I'm now going to attempt to do that again with my 3mm wide flat wire. Now, unlike with the practice piece, I end up cutting this wire into the 5 separate sections because trying to make the star from the one piece of wire, I was putting kinks in it where I didn't want them. I was having trouble shaping it because you have to allow for not being able to make a sharp point. You have to allow an extra 2 or 3 millimeters for it to curve itself instead of meet at a sharp point. Okay, I have slowed it down to show you how I'm going to make the bail. For this style of bail, it's not really a bail, I just incorporate a hole. I cut a piece approximately 1 centimetre longer than the other pieces to allow me some leeway to misshape it. Then use my needle nose pliers to press in on one side, then turn them around and press in on the other side. Keeping my thumb in between prevents the, what I will call tails, from pressing back together. You'll sort of see this again later with a smaller piece that has smaller tails, and that's a lot harder to keep the tails separated. I have to re-stretch them out.
Started with a line of wire in my hand, just a simple plan, nothing too grand.
And then just give him another swipe over with my nylon pliers to straighten out any little kinks that I made. There's an obvious downside to this, which is I have now got gaps at every inner corner. So now it takes quite a bit of time to reposition my pieces in such a way that it makes a decent star shape and closes those gaps as much as possible.
Bend it once, bend it twice, try to make it right, but stars don't like to behave on the first try. Every point a battle, every curve a test. Tiny imperfection, still I give my best. I'm shaping.
Final note for this, I'm not concerned about that resin tape not coming all the way out to those points, and you'll see why later. And now I'm just doing a thin layer of clear hard type UV resin just to get a base layer down before I then start using my colours. Okay, time to start using my colours. I'm using my opaque pigment set and I'm going to use black and white. Now, the person who's requested this keychain didn't request a technique. All they wanted was a star-shaped keychain. The style that I decided to go for is what I believe is or was called geode. The geode style is developed now where it looks more like a rock with all the lumps and bumps and the crystal edge. But I think this was called geode style as well, where you have 2 colours with a coloured leaf, traditionally gold or silver, down the middle. So that's the style I decided to go for. Correct me if I'm wrong on that name though.
Something out of nothing, twisting dreams into design. little stubborn, but I make it mine. It's not perfect, but it's honest. Every flaw's a work of art. Turn a piece of wire and resin.
Little bit of a story time here. It's my boss who requested a keychain. When I set up my channel, I told a couple of people, a couple of family members, and a handful of friends and colleagues, my boss being one of them. And I told them after my first video went public, and I was so shy and embarrassed and scared in case my video was rubbish, that I told them, if you watch, don't tell me. I'd rather have thousands or millions of strangers watch my videos and think it's rubbish than one person who I actually know in real life think it's rubbish, that is, not watch. Bit of a stretch to think millions might watch me, but you never know. Anyway, I have realised that this video is actually going to go out before my boss actually receives her gift. So Vicky, if you're watching this before I see you, please remember to act surprised. And if any of my other colleagues see it, please don't spoil the surprise. Okay, so at first I put down some chunks of gold leaf. Then I decided to mix some up in clear resin, and that enables you to really mash it up. But then that looked too smooth, so I put some chunks of unmixed with UV resin pieces back in on top to make it look a bit more jaggedy edged again. And now I'm putting a few little dots of silver leaf in to look like stars in the black. I'm not too sure that that was a good idea. I don't think it's done much harm, but I think I would have preferred to leave them out. And now I'm going to paint up the back the same way as the front, just to make it glossy on the back as well, but also to get rid of that defined black and white line. So that's why I wasn't concerned about the resin tape not going all the way out to the point, because the extra layers of resin are covering up the line that leaves behind. Okay, whilst that's in cure again, I'm now cutting up pieces to make another star. I decide to make her a pendant as well. Now, it doesn't end there. I end up deciding that the star I've made is too small for a pendant. I'll just skip the rest of this keychain work because all I'm doing now is just top coating again. So let's jump ahead. So as I was saying, I end up deciding that this is more an earring size than a pendant size. So I get my first clear layer down and my first layer of colours down, I think, before deciding this is too small for a pendant. So I end up making another one to match this one to make a pair of earrings, and another one bigger than this but smaller than the keychain to make a pendant.
Into something shaped like a star. Gold lines catching all the light, black and white splitting left and right, glitter running through the seam like a tiny shining dream. Hands a little tired, but I won't stop now. Getting closer every time I figure it out. I'm shaping something out of nothing, twisting dreams into design. Every edge a little stubborn, but I make it mine. It's not perfect, but it's honest. Every flaw's a work of art. Turn a piece of wire and resin into something shaped like a star. Maybe it's messy, maybe it's slow, maybe that's just how creations grow. Every mistake I learned to embrace.
And then because I've changed the shape of that piece, that's changed the angle that the tails meet the other star points, and I have to reposition it all again. I'd like to now give you another tip or two about what I'm doing here. and about these silicone mats that I'm using. And that is, I have made my own silicone mats. Now, if you watch the, I want to say Japanese channels that do nothing but UV jewellery, they always use a silicone pad. It's only in making this video that I realised A, you save on cups, and B, you can control more how much colour you put into your resin. So if you're using a cup, you put in however much resin you want, and then the minimum amount of liquid pigment you can put in is 1 drop. But what if that 1 drop is too much, especially when you're using black pigment in UV resin? You either have to make up too much UV resin to get the colour ratio, the percentage curable, or you end up with too much pigment and you can't cure it. So the benefit of using one of these pads is you put a dollop of UV resin on, and then you can put a drop of colour away from the resin, and then just dip your paintbrush in and pick up a fraction of that drop to mix into your UV. So you've got better control over how much colour you put into your UV.
So we have A, it saves cups. B, control your colour better. C, move them back and forth to your light. And D, if you use a clear silicone, you can leave it on that pad to cure and it will cure both sides together.
And also, this is the first time I'm using a paintbrush because I thought, why not? Why not try it? They seem to be able to get rid of bubbles dead easy with their paintbrush on those channels. I can't. I was chasing one around for ages on one of the pieces that I haven't made yet.
Every new try finds its place. Shaping something out of nothing, and it's finally shining through. I'm shaping something out of nothing. Now it's finally in my hands. All the time and all the effort, exactly as I planned.
I wanted to show you me chasing the bubble around. I don't know if you'll actually be able to see the physical bubble, but bear with me a couple of seconds. There we go. I am now chasing a bubble. Trying to flick it up to the surface. And now that didn't work, so stabbing at it.
Maybe not, but even better, 'cause it's come this far from a simple.
No, we've lost my patience now. Out comes the lighter.
To a handmade little star.
There's not much left to teach you now. We'll shortly be moving on to attaching the findings. Just to reiterate, I use clear hard type for the base layer and the colour layer. Then for the earrings, with them being so small, I moved on straight to the high viscosity from J Diction for the top coat and doming. For the pendant and the keychain, because they're bigger, I did an extra layer, so base layer, colour layer, and an extra layer of clear hard type, and then the high viscosity for the final top coat and doming. And because I did extra layers on the backs of the pieces to shine them up on that side as well, I just used clear hard type for those.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Tracey from Mini Scenes GB for doing this one-to-one collaboration with me to celebrate me setting up a jewellery collaboration. It's not a collaboration in the traditional sense. I will link my announcement video at the end of this video. Please go and watch that if you make jewellery, whether you have a YouTube channel or not. I'll let you go watch that video to hear the explanation. I don't want to basically repeat that announcement in this video, but I do have Tracey to thank for encouraging me and supporting me in setting up that collaboration, because I've been procrastinating over it for a couple of months now and I needed that bit of encouragement. And yeah, Tracey, I really appreciate you. Thank you. And of course, please go and watch Tracey's video, which she has made for this one-to-one collaboration. If you haven't watched it already, of course, I would assume anybody who watches me already watches Tracey, and you would have watched hers first and been passported through to me. But yeah, thank you, Tracey, and thank you all for watching, and thank you in advance if you go and check out that announcement video and take part in that collaboration.
And here I'm just fixing one of my sections that pulled away a little. Hopefully across all 4 pieces you've seen the whole process. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section.
Okay, attaching the findings. Keychain first, that's the easiest. If you've watched me before, you'll know that I struggle with my eyesight and my dexterity, and I really hate these jump rings that are pre-opened, because they're never opened where when you close them they are straight away level. I always have to force them out a bit first. Really annoying. If only you could see me now making hand movements as I do this voiceover. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. The QR code to subscribe from your TV will be popping up any second now, as will a Buy Me a Coffee QR code. If you can afford a donation, no matter how small, and you think I've earned it, then all donations are gratefully received. I actually managed these a lot easier than I've ever done before.
In a quiet room, late night glow, mixing dreams with resin slow. Some ideas I already know, some scare me half to death, but I still go. Epoxy waves and UV light, trying to get it wrong.
Alright, for the pendant chain, I don't really measure because I'm not selling. I just roughly measure to where I think I would want it, or to where one that I already wear comes to. So I just put it around my neck until I find a size that I think suits. As it's for a gift, if it's not to a size that they like, I can always cut another piece off that is measured to a size that they like.
Hands not perfect, that's okay. Every mark is part of the way. I step outside, would feel safe and known. Build something beautiful on my own. If it breaks,
oh, what a donut. I put a jump ring on before putting the chain through the pendant. Okay, hang on for the glamour shots. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good week, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye bye.
still learn from my hands, made with a heart from the start. This is creating with a heart. Some days smooth, some days rough, some days yeah, some days that's enough. But every pore, every try